Great, thanks, Gadi. And I'd like to switch it over to the next part of this session, where we have, I think, some of the leading, both corporate as well as venture capital investor in cybersecurity here in Israel that will help us try to maybe identify better where lie the opportunity and how do they see maybe Israel's competitive advantage in that regard as compared to other places in the world where cybersecurity is getting momentum. So I'd like to invite Inon Dolev from GE, Doug from Lockheed Martin, Gadi from Bosch, and Alan from Magma to join me here on the panel. You're welcome to join us. not sure what was the setup, but okay. Daniel, please, you're welcome to join us here on the panel. So Daniel Yammer from Nation E, leading a cybersecurity company, has just joined us as well. We'll try to cover in the next 40 to 45 minutes the topics that I mentioned. And I'd like to start maybe with each one of you presenting for about 2 or 3 minutes who you are, what is the organization that you're representing, and what's your interest in this domain. So, Ran, maybe we'll start with you.
Hi. Ran Achitu from Magma Venture Partners, an Israeli VC focused on early stage in round A. Our interest in cyber has to do with the fact that you've seen quite an inflation in early stage and prototype level companies, which is our focus, to capture the innovation early in the cycle. We are seeing a diverse set of approaches from multiple domains, as you've seen in Gadi's presentation, taking from biology and other types of paradigms into the cyber paradigm. And that's why we're so fascinated that there could be breakthroughs and disruptions coming, and that's what we focus on. So happy to join.
Great. So before we switch over to the next 3 panelists, I think it's interesting to see that, while in other domain, strategic investor participation at early stages in companies is maybe sometimes seen as a negative thing, okay, tainting the company to an extent by a certain color. I think that in cybersecurity, I think that the market validation and the assistance that some of these strategic partners, as both channels as well as investors, that they can provide those early stage companies is of key importance. So with that, maybe you should present yourself.
Sure. Inon Dolev, Business Development Manager for GE's Technology Center here in Israel. What we do is we actually identify external innovation. We make investments, partnerships, and acquisitions in various companies in Israel, all across the GE portfolio. And I often get the question is, GE and cyber, what's the connection? You're not a cybersecurity company. And you're not. And you're right, we're not. However, we are the manufacturers of things like aircraft engines or medical devices, energy equipment, turbines. All those things are now connected more and more to various networks. And as they become more connected, then the threat of being hacked into grows. And our responsibility is for our customers. The markets that we play in require us to protect our own services and products using cybersecurity companies. And that's why we chose Israel as a center of excellence here. We actually started the cybersecurity team here in Herzliya Pituach. And we also make investments. We also invested in Theta Array. And Yoav, you're right. The reason why we get involved early on is because not we want to take over a company. It's kind of the opposite. We try to help the companies by being their customers, their best customers, to help them get validation of what the pain points are of our own customers. So when they develop their platforms, then they know what fits the market. In fact, we usually are very adamant about the fact that our portfolio companies have their own sustainable business model and growth markets even beyond what we do. in which case, we help them. We have investment agreements with them. We also have partnerships with them. Those are two separate things, and we try to help the company get to market as fast as they can.
Doug, please.
Hello, my name is Douglas Lieberman. I'm from Lockheed Martin. I'm a Lockheed Martin Fellow, and I specialize in cyber and critical infrastructure. I'm also the chief technologist for all of the pursuits which Lockheed is working in Israel today for in the ICT area. A lot of people wonder what Lockheed Martin has to do with IT and cyber. Most people know us for our airplanes, our satellites, those kind of physical devices. We use many of GE's engines on our airplanes. But we actually have a very strong cyber practice, and really where that grew up out of was over the years of both defending our network internally, as well as building networks and defending customers around the world. We've taken that knowledge and that experience and developed that into a very strong cyber practice where we now we invest heavily in cyber. We have a cyber alliance which has some of the largest cyber companies in the world which participate in developing cyber solutions. We've given a lot of thought leadership to the community in terms of our intelligence-driven defense and our cyber kill chain. And we're investing in small companies, large companies, to help really, truly develop the next generation cyber capabilities. We're also here, and we recognize strongly the cyber capabilities here in Israel, and we're making a strong commitment to Israel. We're opening our first cyber office tomorrow, actually, in Beersheba, in the technology park, and we're committed to Israel and to developing cyber solutions going forward.
Yeah, I think that one other thing that we might want to mention is that actually Lockheed Martin, and maybe there are a couple of other such companies, are probably one of the top 5 global vendors in cybersecurity as a solutions provider, and I think that in that regards, a lot of business activity for the Israeli startup and for the Israeli market at large will be eventually funneled through the likes of Lockheed Martin, and therefore I think that their involvement in the Israeli early stage startup scene is of key importance to actually create a sustainable ecosystem here that can help the companies grow rapidly. Gadi.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Gadi. I'm running the venture activity of Bosch in Israel. Bosch, I assume most of you know, it's a very large German conglomerate with a lot of mileage, a lot of years of existence. I think the company is about 130 years old soon. And its roots come from basically a mechanical and an electromechanical workshop somewhere in Stuttgart in Germany. And the company since then has evolved pretty much with the way the world has evolved. So it was a very mechanical world once upon a time, moving into a more electrical world. So it's an electromechanical world, and then moving into a computerized electromechanical world. And now we're in a connected computerized electromechanical world. So this is the way the company has grown, and it's become from a bunch of welders and craftsmanship in metal to electrical engineers to computer scientists and to connectivity scientists. And the Bosch is a very broad and diverse company. It's also a private company, so it is also has an interesting perspective on security. It comes from one of the most secretive industries, which is the automotive industries. And the company itself has quite a number of lines of business. Automotive is by far the largest. Bosch is the largest auto parts manufacturer in the world. It also has businesses that most of the people know, which is appliances, so stuff in your home. You wash your clothes and dishes with it. You make holes in the walls with Bosch appliances. It's also probably the largest power tools manufacturer in the world. But also has activities in other areas such as healthcare and energy and environment. So we're friends and partnering with guys from GE to my right, and also have quite a similar perspective on the needs and complexities of security, with the fact that the world has become from a world of many islands to a world of many connected islands, and the smallest of things has become connected to the net and connecting to whether it's control systems and monitoring systems. So once upon a time, your car was your car, and your little castle that you would drive around from place to place. Nowadays, your car has a few hundreds of computers, a few tens of connectivity ports. And if you look down the road, probably 4 or 5 years from now, your car is going to be communicating constantly, both from the entertainment side, but also from the maintenance side, and also from management of infrastructure and autonomous driving. So you're going to be talking from your car to the other cars and from your car to infrastructure. And all this is beautiful and lovely, and it's a heaven for hackers and a nightmare for vendors. So we have the hat of, same as the guys from GE, to take care of our customers and make sure we don't make products that are going to be eventually very causing damage or liable to all sorts of problems. On the other hand, we're a European company, so it's interesting when we're talking about our own needs for security, we have a slightly different perspective than two of my US colleagues on the right. And that's interesting because, for example, the issue and the attitude towards privacy and towards personal data is very, very different in Europe. So many things that you want to do, you can't do in Europe. You export personal items abroad to just process them. So it's an interesting world, and security was one of the topics we're investing in here in Israel, but not the only one.
Daniel is someone that probably have a complementary kind of a perspective to what we just heard from the large vendors, and someone that works very closely in the same industries, sometimes with, sometimes against some of these vendors. Can you share a bit about Nation E and your view of the market?
Yes, first of all, thank you very much. Nation E basically took his position after a long time of experience in my past. My past was, I was the biggest producer of titanium in the world, and working basically with all the gentlemen on the table, if it was Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Airbus, Boeing, GE, and anybody else. At this time, I was a Russian company, and cyber was not basically the biggest bottleneck, but the biggest bottleneck in our time was business continuity and disaster recovery. And business continuity and disaster recovery are basically integrated with insurance, with policies, with mandatory, with CROs, with CISOs. The world changed. I work very close with Airbus and Boeing on security measures. And as the table just said, everything became very open. The network of all those big industry players is as open as my little house or my little apartment, I'm sorry to say so. And we are all trying now to find a solution, and our solution is a very pragmatic one, because IT is very difficult, and there are many companies out here who have an experience of 5, 10, 15, 20 years and are major players, and you cannot take it anymore away. I believe basically that with our software to monitor, to detect energy of the last mile, this is basically something where our business continuity and disaster recovery can continue to work, because we cannot save everything, and in order to believe that we will save the world, I think this is something we need to take out immediately. But to be proactive and to find a way not to get wiped out, because it is not only a threat, it is also the commercial and the monetary threat, because sometimes you get attacked, but this attack is maybe covered by insurance, but a lot of attacks today out there are not anymore covered by insurance, and this is something I would like later on to discuss, to understand the financial problems and the integration with the big guys. Thank you.
So let's start with maybe GE, Lockheed, Bosch. Where do you guys actually identify the opportunities today, the key trends in cybersecurity that merit additional innovation and that you're looking for maybe startups to complement what you guys are doing? And maybe run in response to what Vail described, I'd like to hear your perspective, whether you think that that's an interesting set of domains to actually start a company in, okay, given all the market limitations, go-to-market, and so forth. Maybe we'll start with you in regards to opportunities.
Sure. So when people think about cybersecurity, public knowledge usually think about IT, antivirus and things of that nature. But the opportunity for us is mostly around the operational world of things, the OT side of things. Our customers are entities like hospitals or manufacturing lines, food and beverage facilities, power utilities, refineries. And nowadays, all those entities need to be more concerned about hacking into the manufacturing lines, into the core of their business, and not only into their IT networks. Continuously, every day, every minute, there are thousands of attempts trying to hurt national or critical infrastructure, mission-critical infrastructure, which is our business. So our customers come to us and tell us, hey, we're not only interested now in your ultrasound machine or in you servicing this and that part, but we need security. You need to help us secure our manufacturing line so that our business doesn't get damaged. And therefore, we're starting to think about how, no longer cybersecurity is an afterthought of the IT world. This is now part of our product lines. Daniel was talking about business continuity. This is exactly what this is about. We have to be able to make sure that our machines are reliable, that there are no shutdowns, and cybersecurity can cause shutdowns. So this is the opportunity for us. If you're an investor or entrepreneur, I got to tell you this is a very tough market, but it's a very untapped market as well. There are few companies in the world, if you compare to other areas of cybersecurity, that touch critical infrastructure vulnerabilities.
So definitely agree with all that. I think from our standpoint, there's multiple layers to this problem, and with the number of customers we have in contracts, we see different levels of maturity along cybersecurity. We have some customers who we're helping just get the core foundation in place, things like firewalls and HIPs and HIDs and those kind of things. Really just point solutions, but the big challenge is, as we've all heard today, and we're aware of, those point solutions don't really solve your problem. They solve some. They get rid of some of the noise, but your signal-to-noise ratio is still a problem. And so really what we're looking at are next-generation cyber capabilities that we're looking to invest in, and really basically driven around the intelligence-driven defense model, where we're looking for not what's attacking me now, but what will be attacking me. What's the methodology of how they're getting at me? Where are they coming from? What are the vectors that they're using, and how can I detect those and find those along the different points in the intelligence-driven defense lifecycle and the cyber kill chain? So understanding whether it's catching things during weaponization or catching things during deployment or command and control, and being able to prevent those or stop those or develop defenses before they happen. One of the biggest challenges we're seeing that we're working with companies that come to us is scale. Most of the cyber companies we've been working with have solutions that look great on paper, they work great in a demo, and they function wonderful for a small business, but at enterprise scale they simply fall down when it comes to the millions and hundreds of millions of packets, terabytes and petabytes of data that some large companies receive. And so while there's a technology side to what we're looking at as far as new capabilities, looking for advanced persistent threats and APTs and predicting and looking at what the different strains are going to be, the tangent to that is taking existing tools which do really interesting capabilities, but need to do it at a scale that's enterprise scale. And that's a place that we're very interested in.
Well, first of all, I agree with what my two esteemed colleagues just said. I think it's 100% spot on. I think we're looking today at the market. We're seeing, we're doing quite an ancient method of just following the money and seeing where the big pain points are. And unfortunately, security being something that doesn't generate money but costs you money and kind of prevents your losses in some form of function, we're looking at the big holes and where these holes will be. So this is what we're kind of trying to see, where the world is going to. And I think we're going to keep on seeing a lot of opportunities and a lot of need on anything to do with online commerce. I think that's never going to end, because this is where people can make money or can create substantial damages. I think the other part that we're seeing is the massive increase in vulnerability, and that comes with, as I said before, potential new liabilities that have not existed before and will be coming into play, and what that means to service providers, to product vendors, and so on and so forth. So I think, and at the same time, there are some issues that are hindering us, and this is, for example, privacy. So privacy is becoming a big issue, and how you do everything. You want to, on the one hand, the U.S. approach. No offense, please. We would like to know everything about everyone and take a decision upon that, whereas some other people on the other scale says you can't be allowed to know anything about anyone and can not tag any kind of information to any person, and that's an interesting space to be trying to maneuver.
Yeah, but so sorry to interrupt you, but I see here a disconnect. Sorry to there's obviously a market need, okay, as exemplified by Industrial Internet, highest end kind of organization that Lockheed is catering for, Internet of Things on maturity level, scale level, and so forth. And Daniel and Ron, I'd like to hear your opinion as an entrepreneur, investors. There's obviously a disconnect here because a startup, okay, cannot come up with a solution that actually have all those characteristics of, proven, scale, enterprise grade, and so forth. So where do you see the opportunities, if at all, in these domains that, actually are in contrast to the very nature of a startup?
Look, startups today basically benefit of that blue chip or Fortune 500 companies are basically very focused on their traditional business and don't have the time to look right and to look left and to have basically the idea to develop something along the line. You are big, you know that you are big, that developers, entrepreneurs are coming to you in order to integrate. I think what we are facing here is much more of an internal problem, because I think, we can discuss, it is a communication problem. And what is a communication problem is it's not in between us, it's too many layers of communication are sitting in our businesses, if it's factories, if it's offices or whatever. And there are some businesses we are guidelining, they have 40 different layers of communication. So in order to monitor 40 different layers of communication, you need to be a genius. And I'm sorry to say it, none of us is this kind of genius. So what we did, what we believed as a startup, because a startup can have a vision and a startup can have experience. So what we have is basically the experience and the vision to do something better. And this better is basically a finished product, what we are rolling out and deploying it today. I would suggest it is like a chip, like an Intel chip. It should be always with you, the communication of a secured network. And if we continue basically to open and to put another network after the other, we will not end up with 40, we will end up with 80. So the solution is to downsize, to secure our network, to have the capability that our new networks are integrating seamlessly as plug and play with the demand of tomorrow, because the demand of tomorrow is not trivial. This is a huge amount of data, a huge amount of integration. If we talk about smart cities, smart cars, smart TVs, it's only the beginning of something what I cannot even identify how it's going to end.
So I do want to real quick come back to something you said a moment ago. You put some words in my mouth I didn't say. So, I said our challenge is that a lot of the solutions that are coming to us are not enterprise scale.
Sure.
The benefit in the cyber arena, and where we're moving past this method of where everything is blocking or store and forward type technologies, which allows us to take cyber solutions and layer them in a defense in depth approach. And that defense in depth approach allows us to put these capabilities in place that can find problems, find things that don't necessarily disrupt my normal business if they're not perfect or they don't work quite right, because it's not blocking. The data still moves. Even if I find out later, at least knowing is better than not knowing. We talk about the fact that anyone, it was mentioned this morning, anyone who thinks that their networks aren't already compromised, anyone who thinks they have a computer anywhere in this room that doesn't have malware on it is wrong. Right? There's malware on every one of our computers somewhere, and every one of our networks is already compromised. The question is that compromise noise, or is that something I care about? And what are the big problems I need to deal with, and what are the small problems I need to deal with? And so to that point, when the reason why Lockheed works with other companies and works with startups is because when we see an interesting idea and something that's not enterprise scale, well, that's where Lockheed can help. We have our own good ideas and we have lots of things that we do on our own, but there are times, and the challenges are that why we can't necessarily sometimes sell products directly to our customers is because they can't, they need something that can handle gigabits an hour, not a couple hundred megs or a couple megabits, but we can take good solutions and help them develop those into larger capabilities for our customers. But in the cyber world, we recognize that the turn time for from idea to usefulness to its yesterday's technology is measured in months sometimes, not measured in years. So we can't wait 4 years for something to mature, and we're not. We're moving quickly, but just because I said something needs to be enterprise scale doesn't mean it has to be. We're not interested in small companies with good ideas.
So I'll split the answer into two sections. First, at the micro level, none of us knows who will be the winner of all the startups we're seeing and of those we're investing in. At the end of the day, we're in the business of taking risk. On the macro level, I think that what's happening in Israel is a hub of technology and expertise in this domain means that the winners at the global level will come from those that we are seeing now. So that's a good point. In addition, something that can make that happen faster is the fact that all the companies here and many others must protect themselves and must be connected. We just saw an example with the recent Air Malaysia flight. The only thing that was connected were the engines. Without the engines being connected, they wouldn't know even where to start. Probably GE.
Actually, yes, why not?
Yeah. They should keep on working in water. It's a feature. So not being connected is something you cannot work with anymore. And then that means that you need to do two things. First of all, something that we're seeing in the telco space where they're becoming dumb pipes. They have a place in the world in terms of protecting connected devices in the Internet of Things. You cannot put 17 layers of protection on each device out there. You need to do it somewhere centrally. It has more information to do that, as well as deal with in-device dealing with when they're infected, what they do with it, right? Because they'll get infected. So these are the trends that we're seeing, and at the macro level, I think that Israel would bring the next technologies, leveraging the interest and the field trials we can do quickly, and the amount of startups that are happening here.
So guys, as someone that actually deal with those startups on a regular basis and are considering investments in some of them, or do you see obviously we're all here and in this conference and other conferences because there's a huge hype cycle right in the market about cybersecurity. And every few months old startups is courted by many investors, high valuations. Obviously for at least for JVP, I guess for Magma as well, it's not necessarily the best thing, right? That we have this hype cycle. I mean, my companies are always too cheap, and the other companies are always too expensive. That's a given. But how do you see the hype cycle? Is that something that is actually helping come up with or sift through those different companies and find the real gems, or is that something that jeopardizes the innovation and the ability to finance the right solutions in the market and come up with a very efficient kind of market? So I'd like to, Ron, maybe we start.
Yeah, I think that the main thing that means is that instead of investing in 4 companies in the domain, we'll invest in 2, right? At the end of the day, that's the end result. And I think it's a good thing because when valuations go up, means that there's more competition. And back to the macro level response that I gave, more funding to more companies means that the probability that the winner will come from Israel is higher. So it's a good thing. Will we make money specifically on the one we invested on? If I knew that, I'll be in a different business, right?
I think it's a double-edged sword, really.
Hide your notes.
Yeah, there we go. On one hand, it's good to have capital. Capital fosters innovation, period. And cybersecurity companies, in order to succeed, in my view, have to be well capitalized because it's a really tough business. So that's a good thing. However, I do think that if you look at the lay of the land here in Israel and globally, LPs in VC funds are pressuring the VC funds to fill the ranks and expand the portfolio with cybersecurity companies. And that sometimes causes certain investors to focus only on technology and perhaps the team, but underestimate other areas like the commercial risk. Not JVP, of course. Right, so sometimes or actually I think in most cases in the cybersecurity field, the commercial risk, adoption, growth is probably a 10 times a risk than just the technology itself. So we often see a lot of, ex-IDF, Shmonim Time alumni with cool ideas, very strong team, who have no clue or limited clue about their customers' needs, their pain points, how to grow a company, how to build a commercial business plan, how to segment a market, these kind of things. And they get money. So the downside of this is that, I don't think that this has a future. When we look at companies, we judge them on a case-by-case basis, regardless of, where they come from, for example, right? If it has a good market, a solid technology, and a growth plan, somebody who really understands how to translate problems into customer value, like cost, economics, price, liability, regulation, things of that nature, that's where we would say, okay, this is something that has a potential. Otherwise, it's too big a risk for us.
So I think the whole point, when we're discussing the hype cycle, and to the point of the double-edged sword is, by definition, we're saying that means that people are paying attention, right? The fact that there are so many people investing in cyber, there are so many startup companies, means that we recognize that cyber is an issue, and we're spending time on it. If it wasn't and I'm sure still we're on the upswing of the hype cycle, and we're not quite at the top yet, and at some point it'll come down the other side. It's a well-studied cycle. But the point is that it's come at the right time, right? As we move more into a digital world, as our lives become more digital, as every aspect of what we do, to the point is our cars. I just read this article. I was just telling my associate during lunch today. There was an article a couple days ago talking about how someone figured out that Tesla, with the fact that you can open your car doors with your phone, well, they didn't build enough cybersecurity into it, and all you had to do was spend about 5 minutes with a little program. You can open any Tesla door you want, because it was like, I think it was a 5-digit code and didn't lock you out if you tried X number of times wrong. It just let you keep going. So, the point is that as we drive to more and more of our lives are based in the digital world, we need more cyber solutions. We need more cyber security. And so the hype cycle is good in that we're getting all that attention. It's annoying in that you drive up these companies, their valuations, which means you can invest less in some of the bigger ones. But it's good that we're spending the time and the money and we're looking at these companies because we need innovative new ideas, innovative new solutions to keep ahead of or at least try to catch up to the adversaries.
Daniel, what's your perspective as an entrepreneur and an investor?
It's very interesting that you ask me, because I agree with Douglas. Scalability is one of the most important things, and if you do the mistake at the beginning and you do not focus on the right approach to scale, if it's in pricing, if it's in all kind of certification process, you miss the boat. So for me, it is a very, very profound point to have a scalability in the system. If I see a scalability, then I understand there was a brain behind it, and this is for me a go.
So I can share with you that at least for us at JVP, I think that we all recognize that we're in a hype cycle, okay? And from our perspective, it hurts the market growth because you see a lot of less than perfect, let's call them startups, getting funded, and a lot of capital inefficiencies are being introduced into the market because of that. But I think that there's a difference between a hype cycle, which there's no doubt that we're in, and it will come down sometime, okay, maybe next year, maybe next 2 years, I don't know. There's a difference between a hype cycle and a bubble, okay? There's a question of whether this is artificial or not, or hype cycle that is actually going to burst at once, or it's just going to go down somewhat over the next few years. And I think that at least from our perspective, we're not in a bubble. And the difference between this hype cycle and other hype cycles that we saw in the IT domain is that the need is here, okay, versus other hype cycles that maybe we saw in earlier years where, there were inflated valuations, okay, completely unjustified by the market need, the market spending, the sheer value, economic value of the problem that companies are trying to address. So I think that definitely there's a hype cycle. It hurts the market efficiencies. It will go down, but in our opinion, it's not a bubble that would burst at once.
Well, I agree and disagree with you at the same time. I think you're right that it's not a bubble. However, the problem with hype cycles is those sitting in the room, is the humans, because humans have a tendency to kind of move in herds, and hype cycles turn to become bubbles, and that's what usually happens to them. They don't stay nice and controlled hype cycle with everyone happy to the right degree, but it goes through the roof and then goes back to the ground, and in both directions it's unjustified. To the same extent, now it's impossible to fund the clean tech companies because no investor wants to touch them with a 6-foot pole, even though some of them are interesting companies with markets that have bounced back and have great potential, but they're become muktzeh, something which no one wants to touch. And so humans or investors or groups of investors are the key issue. I think the other aspect of the current situation in terms of the hype is that we will eventually move to another space. So the needs are not going to go away. I don't think security needs are not going to go away to the same extent that energy needs are not going away to the same extent that other growth. This is the world. And the question is, are we not going to miss out in the good times versus as the same extent we miss out in the bad times? And that's for me and then I think in a sense the responsibility lies on the people sitting and making the investments to stay disciplined in both directions.
Okay, we'll try to do that. So, but maybe we're running out of time here, and I just wanted to, as a final question to this panel, what do you think are Israel's inherent advantages in actually taking advantage of the market opportunity that you guys clearly articulated, and maybe of the hype cycle as well to an extent, and how, so what is the opportunity and how are you guys committed to help this opportunity materialize?
So I think from our standpoint, the real benefit we see here is, especially in the cyberspace, it's all about innovation. Those of us who do it every day, you sort of get, you see one thing and you always see it the same way. You need new people seeing new ideas, and as is well documented, Startup Nation, et cetera. Israel, with the number of startups, the number of new ideas and innovative and the skill set in the background, really brings that new innovative ideas and new approaches to the problem that aren't just simply trying to take traditional ideas and change them a little bit or make them a little bigger, but truly looking completely out of the box. And that's why we're very interested, because to solve this problem, we've got to not just keep tweaking the old solutions. We need new, truly, out of the box, I hate that term, but, truly new, fresh ideas. And to get that, you're going to get that from people who are trying to be rich tomorrow by, coming up with the next great idea. And those people are the ones that haven't been living and working with the same solutions for the last 20, 30 years.
And you can't find that in the Washington, D.C. area?
Well, my point is, it's what really drives it here is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? As more of us invest here, and there's more investment dollars to be here for low TRL startups. In the Washington, D.C. area, in the United States, there's definitely money for low TRL startups, but it's not nearly as prevalent. There's a lot of money for TRL 4, 5, 6. Take something, get it to the next level, but very, very little or very hard to come by money that's at the 0, 1, 2 level. But here, that's much more prevalent to take ideas and turn them into products rather than taking products and turning them into solutions.
Unlike other maybe sectors of the high tech, from my experience, Israel is viewed as kind of the mecca of cybersecurity. We have tried DC, we've tried Silicon Valley, and at the end of the day, it's a cost-value equation, and it made sense for us from an expertise perspective, from a cost perspective, from an ecosystem perspective, to start our cybersecurity excellence here in Israel. It's kind of each company in its own calculation. What we offer is a couple of things. Much like Doug, ability to scale. We work with companies and we hire. So we offer jobs. We are hiring. We offer capital for selected companies that we think could be strategic to us. And we offer access to our assets. Sometimes we will engage in some sort of a partnership, perhaps a go-to-market or a technology development agreement with a company, where we'll open our infrastructure
Of the best in class entrepreneurs to enter the market, which will flourish the innovation. So I think,
I believe Israel positioned itself very, very good. When I look backwards and compare better place with what is happening now, I feel very comfortable. I see that there is fully government support, that integration between cities, between companies, between people is working totally different. I experience synergy what was never in the renewable energy or whatever like this. So I fully believe in Israel. I fully believe that JVP and also other kind of people will find good companies, make a lot of money, and hopefully Bosch and Lockheed and all those companies will find good integration companies. So I'm fully behind Israel. That's the reason I choose my headquarters to be here, hired in the last couple of months more than 40 people. So this is a commitment too. So, and we are anticipating to grow by 2015-16 by approximately 150 people.
Nice. Great. So with that, I'd like to thank the panelists for their contribution here on the panel. Thank you. And the next part of this session is actually about solutions of individual companies. We'll start actually with a presentation of Marcel Chaton from ISERD, and then we'll move to a presentation by individual companies, Nation E, Teta-Ray, Hybrid Security, and another company. And Marcel, please kick it off.